Go up to anyone that you know and ask them to list their top 5 TV shows or top 5 movies, and the chances are you'll receive a variety of answers for a variety of reasons. Granted, there are a few lucky guesses you could make as to what those answers could be, but our society is diverse enough that we don't all have the same tastes. And yet, I believe there is a common flaw we seem to have when it comes to our tastes in the media we consume. We take everything so seriously nowadays. And so I'm left to answer the all-important question. When did we stop having fun?
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
I'm struggling because I haven't seen the TV show. I've seen all the Marvel movies because it's my job. I had no idea what was going on.
As a real true fan, I know more about this universe than you do. I have the right to control this story. How dare you ignore me, a real fan?
You done fucked it up. You done fucked it up. You done fucked it up.
I talk a lot about comic books, so I'll start there for this topic. Over the years, the comic book medium has taken a noticeable shift towards a darker and more grounded style of storytelling. The greatest example of this would be in the Batman mythos. I'm sure that you don't need to be introduced to the live-action Batman TV show in the 1960s. The iconic theme song, colourful costumes, and comic-inspired action text that appears every time a punch is thrown have long been embedded into the public consciousness. Looking back on it now, it's very easy to declare the whole era as being silly, cheesy, and even over the top. But it was fun, right?
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
There weren't enough interpretations of the character at the time to leave us divided. Everyone bonded over the dynamic duo's last-minute escapes from whatever fantastical trap the villain of the week had laid out for them.
That guy, he's barely a villain of the week. What'd you call me?
And while the methodology behind their escapes was equally bombastic, we enjoyed seeing how they executed them. Obviously, this tone will not last forever, as from the 80s onwards, Batman stories became more dark and gothic in nature. I for one am not complaining, but I've noticed that this has helped create the almost cynical approach that we take to consuming this form of media. Modern audiences seem to crave the dark, gritty, and grounded interpretations of characters so much, they end up associating cheesiness with poor quality. Even something as small as Superman's costume not having the red underwear on the outside is a result of society's obsession on how cool these characters should be. And cool is a very subjective way of thinking. It's shallow, fickle, and easily subjected to change over time. I say, let these characters be who they are. I enjoy the modern interpretation of Batman, but I also enjoy the nostalgic, light-hearted cheesiness of the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon. It was colourful and full of enigmatic characters who stood out on the screen like a comic book come to life, unashamed of how cheesy it might seem. Just because a character, or even an entire fictional universe, has been recently defined by dark characteristics, doesn't mean that a laid-back, fun approach is any less legitimate. A more recent example can be found in the new movie The Marvels. For those who don't know, it's a sequel to the 2019 Marvel movie Captain Marvel. In this story, Captain Marvel teams up with Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, and Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. The three get wrapped up in an interstellar adventure to stop a Kree soldier from stealing resources from other planets. It's one of the shortest movies in the MCU, and is the first to have 3 main female leads. Admittedly, I don't think that it's one of the best movies that the MCU has produced, but I certainly thought it was fun. It was refreshingly light-hearted, especially with Iman Vellani's performance as Kamala Khan. Some of the best scenes in the movie revolved around her interaction with Captain Marvel and Photon. as well as a family dynamic on screen. There are many reasons why this film has received criticism, and I won't delve deep into them as they require a lot of backstory. But I've noticed a trend of people who seem incapable of just switching off and enjoying a piece of fiction for what it is. Everyone expects every Marvel movie to be the next Avengers Endgame in terms of scale and tone, but that's just not realistic. And while I believe that studios shouldn't use this as an excuse to slide on quality, I do believe that it is a justification for spreading the creative wings and trying something a bit different. This phenomena doesn't just end with comic books either. Cartoons often get the short end of the stick and aren't treated with the same level of reverence that other narrative mediums receive. People think of them as simply a form of children's entertainment, and therefore don't think they are capable of delivering a high standard of quality. Not only do I believe that cartoons are made with arguably superior storytelling to live action shows, I would also point out that it doesn't matter anyway. Why must it be necessary for every show to be a cinematic masterpiece? If the intention is to be entertaining, then surely it has done its job. Alex's previous video, Animation Isn't Just for Kids, delves into the topic of animation and how it can be overlooked, so I don't want to run that point into the ground. However, the next time you find yourself turning your nose up at a cartoon, I want you to consider why you are having this reaction. Did it ever occur to you that the people behind the show put in as much love as those who work on live action? And I'm not just talking about adult-themed shows like Family Guy, South Park, or to a lesser extent, The Simpsons. I mean cartoons that are genuinely marketed towards children. Sure, the visual styling of these shows may not be created with adults in mind, but you are doing yourself a disservice by dismissing them on the notion that they have nothing to offer you. Ironically, a lot of children's cartoons have a more mature storyline than their adult counterparts. And by mature, I don't necessarily mean explicit.
Dude, you're laying on my bra.
I just mean that the stories can be quite heavy and emote a range of feelings from the audience.
Don't do it. No. No. No!
As I've mentioned, we have an expectation nowadays when it comes to the media we consume. Every movie needs to be the next Godfather. Every TV series needs to be the next Breaking Bad. However, I feel like this is to our detriment rather than to our gain. Ideas become limited if our sole intention is to replicate something that was extremely popular before. And yes, playing it safe may be the best course of action when handling a multi-million-dollar franchise that has years of intellectual property behind it. But a copy and paste formula robs the creative industry of the ideas that made it so captivating in the first place. When Stan Lee pitched Spider-Man, he was rejected multiple times before the character was allowed to come to print. Now, Spider-Man is arguably Marvel's flagship character. How many shows have been cancelled due to poor viewing figures, only to be picked up by another network? Even the shows that don't get saved still end up having a cult following later down the line. This isn't an issue that can be solved overnight. It requires a reworking of the public conscience on how we view entertainment. I would simply recommend this. Consume every story with a blank slate, so to speak. Obviously, there are certain standards of quality we wish to be upheld, but recognize that a story doesn't have to reinvent the wheel in order to be good. It doesn't have to defy and subvert every trope in order to be memorable. A story can be fun for the sake of being fun. It can have cheesy one-liners, over-the-top characters, and overused cliches, while still being worth your time. Enjoy the story for what it is, and then move on. There is a certain cynicism to be found in our disappearing ability to find joy wherever we can. Perhaps that's all the more reason to watch shows aimed towards children. because they capture something imaginative, something innocent, that childlike spark we seem to lose when we grow up.